You're sitting on the floor, there's a big stuffed dog in your lap. Or you're at a friend's house and their dog comes up for a pet. Or you're holding a baby. Or you're just on your phone. Doesn't matter. And then your dog does that thing. Pushes between you and whatever has your attention. Climbs onto your lap. Barks at the stuffed animal. Sometimes nips at it. Sometimes just stares. Most owners laugh and say, "Oh, he's jealous." And then they second-guess themselves. Because that's a human emotion, right? Dogs don't really get jealous. That's just us projecting. For 150 years, scientists agreed with the second guess. Jealousy was supposed to be too complex for dogs, too cognitive, too human. Then in 2014, a lab in California decided to actually test it. They didn't get the result anyone expected. Your dog isn't being possessive, your dog isn't being silly. Your dog is doing something that neurologically looks almost exactly like what a human baby does at 6 months old. And once you see the experiment, you can't unsee it. Charles Darwin published The Descent of Man in 1871. Most people remember it for evolution. Almost nobody remembers what he wrote about dogs. He wrote, and I'm quoting directly, "Everyone has seen how jealous a dog is of his master's affection, if lavished on any other creature." Then he added a sentence that almost nobody quotes. "This shows that animals not only love, but have the desire to be loved." Darwin had no fMRI, no behavioral studies, no data. He just had eyes, a notebook, and 100 years of evolutionary thinking. He saw what every owner has seen, and he made a claim that scientists would spend the next century and a half trying to disprove. They couldn't. University of California, San Diego, 2014. Christine Harris, professor of psychology, and her honors student, Caroline Prouvost. They published their study in PLOS ONE. It became one of the most cited papers on canine emotion ever written. Here's what they did. 36 dogs, tested in their own homes, not a lab. Each owner was given 3 different scenarios in random order. The owner did not know what was being studied. Scenario 1. The owner ignored their dog and gave affection to a stuffed dog. But not just any stuffed dog. This one was animated. It barked. It whined. It wagged its tail. It looked, sounded, and moved like a real dog. Scenario 2. The owner ignored their dog and gave the same affection to a jack-o'-lantern pail, a novel object, something the dog had never seen. Scenario 3. The owner read aloud from a children's pop-up book that played melodies. The control. Attention diverted, but to nothing social. The researchers filmed everything. They counted snapping, pushing, getting between the owner and the rival, touching, vocalizing. Here are the numbers. 78% of the dogs pushed at the owner or at the rival when the owner was petting the fake dog. 42% did it for the jack-o'-lantern. 22% did it for the book. That's not random, that's a pattern. 30% of the dogs tried to physically wedge themselves between the owner and the stuffed animal. 25% snapped at the fake dog. And here's the detail that gives away everything. 86% of the dogs sniffed the fake dog's rear end. They were checking. They thought it was real. Our study, Harris said, suggests not only that dogs do engage in what appear to be jealous behaviors, but also that they were seeking to break up the connection between the owner and a seeming rival. Not possessiveness over a toy. Not frustration. Targeted social intervention. The dogs weren't trying to get attention. They were trying to remove a competitor. This is the part where the skeptics push back. And honestly, they had a point. Maybe, the critics said, the dogs weren't jealous. Maybe they were just guarding a resource. The owner was the resource. The fake dog was a thief. That's not jealousy. That's just dog logic. Fair objection. So, in 2021, a team in New Zealand designed an experiment specifically to answer it. Amalia Bastos, University of Auckland, published in Psychological Science. She brought in 18 dogs. Each dog watched its owner sit next to a realistic fake dog. The dog could see everything. Then a chest-high barrier was raised between the dog and the fake rival. The dog could no longer see the fake dog, but the dog could still see its owner. And the owner started making the petting motion, as if the fake dog were still there. The barrier hid the rival. but the owner's body language said, "I'm caressing someone right now." What did the dog do? The dog pulled on its leash, hard, specifically toward the owner, with the same intensity as when the rival was visible. The dog wasn't reacting to what it saw. The dog was reacting to what it imagined was still happening behind the barrier. And in the control trial, where the owner pretended to pet a fleece cylinder behind the same barrier, the dogs barely pulled at all. Same hidden object, same petting motion, but not a social rival, so no jealousy. Bastos summarized the finding in one sentence: dogs can mentally represent an out-of-sight social interaction that threatens their bond. That's not resource guarding. Resource guarding requires the resource to be present. This is a dog imagining a rival, building a mental picture of a social situation, and reacting emotionally to a model in its own head. The skeptics had said, it's not real jealousy because dogs can't represent the rival when they don't see it. Bastos showed they can. Now we go inside the skull. 2018, Emory University, Peter Cook, Greg Berns, and their team. Berns is the pioneer of awake-fMRI on dogs. He spent years training dogs to lie completely still inside an MRI scanner without sedation. The dogs do it voluntarily. They get treats afterward. The whole protocol is built on consent. 13 dogs. Each one had been pre-evaluated with the C-BARK, a standardized canine behavioral questionnaire that measures, among other things, how aggressive a dog tends to be in social situations. The dogs went into the scanner. While their brains were being imaged, they watched their owner do 3 things: feed them, drop the food into a bucket, or feed a realistic fake dog placed nearby. The researchers watched what happened in one specific brain region, the amygdala. In humans, the amygdala lights up during anger, fear, anxiety, and yes, jealousy. The result was striking. When the owner fed the fake dog, the dog's amygdalas activated bilaterally, both sides of the brain, significantly more than in either of the other conditions. And the more aggressive a dog was on the C-BARK scale, the brighter its amygdala lit up. Behavior matched neurology. The dogs that acted most jealous were the dogs whose brains responded most strongly to a social rival receiving care from their human. Now, fairness. The amygdala isn't a jealousy switch. It's involved in many high arousal emotions. The researchers were careful. They didn't say, "we proved jealousy." They said, "we found a neurological signature consistent with what jealousy would look like in a dog brain." But here's what's hard to argue with. The behavior matches. The neurology matches. The cognitive representation matches. At a certain point, the burden of proof shifts. If it walks like jealousy, scans like jealousy, and behaves like jealousy across 3 independent labs in 3 different countries, the simplest explanation is that it is jealousy, or close enough that the difference doesn't matter. Here's the part that hits hardest. The protocol Christine Harris used in 2014 to test dogs, she didn't invent it, she borrowed it. Sybil Hart and Heather Carrington, Texas Tech University, published a study in 2002 in the journal Infancy. The title was Jealousy in 6-month-old Infants. Hart took 32 human babies, 6 months old. The babies watched their mothers do 2 things: pay attention to a lifelike baby doll, or pay attention to a book. The babies showed measurable distress when the mother focused on the doll, diminished joy, increased anger, negative facial expressions. They reached toward the mother. They tried to break the connection. With the book, almost nothing. Sound familiar? Hart concluded that jealousy emerges far earlier in human development than anyone had assumed. Not in the toddler years. At 6 months, before language, before walking, before self-recognition in a mirror. 12 years later, Christine Harris adapted that exact experiment for dogs. Same conditions, same measures, same result. Your dog's jealousy isn't a complex adult human emotion. It's not Othello in fur. It's something simpler and older. It's the emotional system of a pre-verbal human infant. The system that evolved before sophisticated thinking. The system that evolved to do one thing: protect the bond. A 6-month-old baby cannot survive without its caregiver, so the brain is wired with an alarm. When something threatens the bond, the alarm goes off. Distress, protest, reach for mom. A dog cannot survive in modern human society without you, your house, your food, your protection. So when something threatens your bond, the alarm goes off in your dog too. Same circuit, same purpose, same age cognitively speaking. Your dog has the emotional sophistication of a 6-month-old, which sounds dismissive until you realize that a 6-month-old already loves, already grieves separation, already prefers one person over all others, already tries to protect the most important relationship of its life. That's not nothing. That's everything. So the next time you're petting another dog and your dog wedges in, or you pick up a stuffed animal and your dog stares at it, or you give attention to a baby and your dog starts pacing, slow down for 1 second. You're not being silly. You're not projecting. You're watching a 4.6-year-old social mammal. That's the average age of the dogs in the Bastos study, running an emotional program that evolved to protect attachment bonds in social species. A dog who imagines a rival it cannot see. A dog whose amygdala activates the same region that lights up in a jealous human brain. A dog showing the same behavioral signatures as a 6-month-old human child. Darwin saw it in 1871, and most people quote his first sentence about it. The famous one. Everyone has seen how jealous a dog is of his master's affection. But it's the second sentence that matters, the one almost nobody quotes. This shows that animals not only love, but have the desire to be loved. That's what your dog is telling you when it pushes between you and the stuffed animal. When it stares at the rival. When it climbs into your lap and looks up at you. Your dog isn't being possessive. Your dog isn't being needy. Your dog is asking, in the only emotional language it has, the oldest question in the social world. Please, don't replace me. If this changed how you see that little jealous moment, subscribe to Fur Logic. And drop a comment. When did you first realize your dog was jealous? Of who or what? I want to know.